I've been an active member of the organization since 1992, and in this 25th year have been asked to look back on some historical points that I think are of significance. And I recall perhaps two or three. One was the early days of 1992. The standards and criteria that were created were very prescriptive. And I remember meeting a man at the annual meeting in San Antonio by the name of Ed Mayer, who ultimately also became president of the organization. And the two of us discussed it and said something had to be done to make these standards more meaningful and flexible for schools of our size. And the four-year commission then developed what was called the Option A standards, which were prescriptive, and the Option B standards, which were in reality performance-based standards. And that was a very interesting advance for the organization because it laid an early foundation for the assessment movement, which came about 10 or 15 years later. And ultimately, I was asked to participate in the headquarters in Kansas City with a group of about 15 or 20 other educators from throughout the country, and created what we now call the standards and criteria, and they are performance-based. So I think that's the first significant change that I recall. The second very significant change was the original founders of ACBSP were educators who found it difficult to meet the standards and criteria for what we call AA. AA is a larger accrediting organization. It caters to very large universities, very strict standards, and they just simply did not see in their mission a role for smaller four-year colleges like myself or two-year schools. And ACBSP was created to offer two-year schools and four-year schools as small as my own an opportunity to achieve accreditation. So in those early years, the executive director was always an educator, and the board of commissioners and the board of directors were educators. They did a very good job of implementing standards and criteria for measurement of quality. But what they really lacked was the understanding of how a large, not-for-profit educational organization should be organized and operated. And Roy Moore, may he rest in peace, was the last educator executive director. And when he passed on, the organization's board of directors decided that it was time to seek out a professional manager for the organization, and someone who came from an organizational background with organizational experiences. And that person turned out to be Doug Viehland. At the 25th anniversary luncheon, many of his accomplishments were lauded, and he was praised. And I sat in the audience saying to myself, every one of those commendations were genuinely deserved, that he has moved ACBSP to the level that it is today. But his real strength was that he also managed to respect the academic credibility of the accreditation process. So that ACBSP today is a very, very significant educational organization in the United States, and at the same time a very, very respected accreditation association. And then the third big change came, and that was in my term of office, that as the organization grew, the need for financial support developed. And Doug Viehland instituted a study of need for creating a fundraising effort. We worked on it for, about 6 months. We had an expert market person come in, an expert finance person come in, and then we moved into the actual fundraising year, and that financial campaign was very, very successful, and it led to the organization now owning its own office space and a great deal of reduction in unnecessary expenses, and also the ability to build up a very sound financial reserve. So as I look back at my history, I think of those three things as three very, very important developments that I had an opportunity to participate in and to share in.